Chapter 21. Unrequited Love, One-Way Love. Have you ever loved someone who didn't love you back? Felt your heart sprint toward a person while theirs stood still or headed the other way? If so, you're far from alone. Unrequited love, one-way love, where one heart reaches out and the other can't or won't respond, is one of the most painful and most common chapters in our emotional lives. Imagine love as a duet. In real love, both partners sing in the same key, each bringing their voice to create harmony together. In unrequited love, only one person sings. The other either can't hear the music, doesn't know it, or simply doesn't want to sing. It's like trying to dance a tango alone or clap with one hand, unfinished, frustrating, isn't it? From a psychological standpoint, romantic rejection can be devastating. When we're in love, we attach to the beloved as if they were the source of our happiness, and when that person doesn't return our feelings, what happens? A painful imbalance. The brain, which had been getting its regular dose of emotion and hope, goes into a kind of emotional withdrawal. Research on love has even shown that the pain of rejection activates brain regions similar to those involved in physical pain. That's why a broken heart isn't just a metaphor. You can literally feel an ache in your chest or a hollow in your stomach when you suffer in love. Your body reads rejection as major stress. Your heart races or for a split second seems to stop. Your appetite vanishes or, on the contrary, you seek refuge in a tub of ice cream. Your sleep becomes erratic. All of this is normal when you're navigating unrequited love. It doesn't mean you're losing it. It means you're human, with a heart that for a while hurts. Let's also talk about the invisible emotions that come bundled with one-way love. First, the deep sadness, the sense that you've lost something you never truly had. It's the loss of hope, of the dreams you spun around that person. Then comes frustration. Why doesn't he, she like me? What does that other person have that I don't? What did I do wrong? The mind starts hunting for flaws in yourself, as if the other's love were a prize you failed to win because you weren't good enough, and perhaps the most insidious of all, hope hanging by a thread. Even when everything points to the fact that you don't stand a chance, some part of you still hopes. Maybe one day he, she will realize what a wonderful person I am. Maybe they'll wake up one morning and discover they love me. That stubborn hope can be both a comfort and a torment because it won't let you move on. It's like keeping the door ajar, hoping the beloved will one day walk through it, while reality shows you there's no one standing at the threshold. Beyond the pain of the one who loves in vain, we rarely consider how hard it can be for the one who can't give love back. Our culture shines the spotlight on the rejected lover's suffering. We write poems, songs, tear-streaked journal entries, but how does the other person feel, the object of unwanted affection? They often ride out complex states too, guilt, because they can't offer what's being asked, discomfort and stress because no one likes to hurt another. Maybe you were friends and, after you confessed your feelings, the relationship shifted and turned awkward. Did I lead them on without meaning to? Maybe I was too friendly and they misread it. Thoughts like these can trouble the mind of someone who is unintentionally rejecting. Unrequited love has two sad faces. The one who loves aches with longing and rejection, and the one who is loved against their will struggles with guilt and pressure. There are no winners here. Both end up hurt in one way or another. Unrequited love takes many forms. One of the most common arises between friends. You grow close as buddies and, almost without noticing, you start loving them differently, while for them you remain just a friend. Maybe it's happened to you, or you've watched others in that famous friend zone, a place where you're stuck between wanting to declare your love and fearing you'll ruin the friendship. When you're in it, it's nothing like the internet jokes. It's painful and complicated. Every hangout sparks hope. Every story they tell you about the person they're into twists the knife. You find yourself analyzing every gesture, hunting for signs that maybe, just maybe, they feel something too, only to remember that you're the confidant, not the partner. It's a true emotional roller coaster, one of the hardest parts of unrequited love, that blend of closeness and distance that slowly wears you down. A fascinating and ironic feature of one-sided love is that it can make the feeling seem even more intense. What do I mean? Think about how often we crave precisely what we can't have. The human heart sometimes relishes a challenge. When the person you love keeps you at a distance or isn't available, your feeling can explode into something stronger. Paradoxically, rejection can feed obsession. You start idealizing them, you put them on a pedestal and tell yourself they're unique, irreplaceable, that only with them could you be happy. Because you can't truly have them close, your imagination fills the gaps. You dream up conversations and scenes where one day, everything changes like in a romantic movie. It's like pouring gasoline on a fire rather than going out, it blazes higher. Psychologists have an interesting term for this almost obsessive state, limerence. That phase when you're practically fixated on someone and project all kinds of romantic fantasies onto them, often without much basis in reality. If you see yourself in this, know you're not strange at all. It happens to many, especially in youth, when hormones and imagination are in full bloom. What matters is recognizing when this daydreaming crosses a line and starts to hurt you, keeping you stuck in an illusion. Let's not forget that unrequited love doesn't care about age. We often taste it first in adolescence. You may have had that high school classmate you were head over heels for who saw you only as a friend or not even that. You wrote messages you never sent, your heart pounded when you saw their name online and you lived for their attention, however small. Adolescence, when we dramatize everything, and with good reason because everything is new and intense, but adults aren't immune either. Even at 30, 40 or 50, you can find yourself quietly in love with someone at work, or falling for an old friend without realizing it, or drawn to someone you met online who doesn't reciprocate. Maybe they're unavailable, for instance, already in another relationship, and still your heart ignores their status. The situations vary widely, but the pain and the questions are surprisingly similar at any age. You might be asking, okay, so what do I do if this happens to me? How do I get through it? First, give yourself permission to feel what you feel. It's okay to be sad, disappointed, even angry. Don't judge yourself for it. The heart, too, needs to grieve the love that wasn't meant to be. Second, try putting yourself first, even a little at a time. In one-sided love, you tend to put the other person on a pedestal and forget yourself. So dare to take them off that pedestal. Remember what you enjoy, your hobbies, the people who actually offer you affection, friends, family. Spend time with those who appreciate you. It will remind you that you deserve to be loved. And cliché as it sounds, time really does heal. Today you might feel like crying under the blanket all day, and if you do, go ahead, there's nothing shameful about it. But one day you'll realize you shed the last tear for that person, and then little by little, your heart will be ready to sing a duet with someone else again. One last thought. Theoretically speaking, sometimes unrequited love has a bright side. Yes, you read that right. Amid all that pain, there's also a sliver of light. The fact that you're capable of loving deeply, even without receiving anything in return. That reveals a strength and a beauty in your soul. Of course, it's not ideal to stay stuck there, but honor your heart for its capacity to love. Many poets, writers and composers have created remarkable works of art sparked by unrequited love. Sometimes a broken heart lets the light in and helps us know ourselves better, helps us grow. What matters at the end of the day is not to lose hope. Today's one-way love may be the lesson that prepares you for tomorrow's mutual love. On a quiet Friday evening, Jennifer and Michael were at home, ready to watch a movie. Just as Michael pressed play on the remote, Jennifer's phone began to buzz insistently. Her younger sister Sophie's name flashed on the screen. Jen, her voice was choked with tears. Can I come over, please? Without a second thought, Jennifer told her to grab a taxi and come. As she ended the call, Michael was already on his feet, looking at his girlfriend with concern. What happened? Is Sophie okay? He asked. Jennifer sighed and ran a hand through her hair, twisting it into a messy bun, a telltale sign of her unease. I don't know exactly, but she was crying. I told her to come here. Michael nodded right away. 15 minutes later, the doorbell rang. Jennifer hurried to open the door. Sophie stood in the doorway, eyes red and cheeks wet with tears. She wore an oversized hoodie, as if she had curled into it like a shell. Jennifer pulled her into a tight hug, and Sophie broke down again on her sister's shoulder. Michael watched the scene, his heart aching. He remembered tears like these all too well. He had seen them not long ago on Jennifer's cheeks, on another difficult night. He stepped closer and gently placed a hand on Sophie's back, a silent gesture of comfort. "Come in," Jennifer whispered, guiding her sister to the sofa. Sophie sat down, wiped her nose with the tissue Michael handed her, and tried to find her words between sobs. Jennifer offered her the mug of hot tea they had made. "Easy. Take a small sip. That's it. Now tell me, what happened? You gave us a scare." Sophie drew a deep breath and lifted her gaze to Jennifer, then to Michael, who had settled into the armchair beside them, giving the sisters space while staying close in case they needed him. It was awful," Sophie burst out. "You know Chris, that boy in my class I told you about?" Jennifer nodded. How could she not? For months, Sophie had been telling her about Chris, the high school classmate she felt increasingly attached to. Jennifer had suspected for some time that her sister had fallen seriously in love for the first time. Well, today after school, Sophie began to cry again, unable to go on. Jennifer took her hands in hers, giving them an encouraging squeeze. "Take a deep breath, sweetheart. We're here. What happened with Chris?" Sophie blinked a few times, chasing away the hot tears. I saw him ask another girl to the prom," she finally managed to say, speaking quickly, as if she wanted to rip the bandage off the wound. "Right in front of me. He doesn't even know that I..." And again her words broke off in a bitter sob. Jennifer felt her heart tighten for her younger sister. She instantly remembered her own teenage years, that piercing ache of a first unrequited love. She thought of the boy she'd liked at 16 and how she'd seen him one day kissing someone else in the hallway. Back then it had felt like the world was ending. Now, looking at Sophie, it was as if the past had returned, this time with a different lead, but the same feelings. "Oh, Sophie," she whispered, pulling her into another hug. "I'm so sorry, sweetheart." Michael leaned forward, his elbows resting on his knees. "This guy, Chris, is he blind?" he asked gently, trying to coax out the hint of a smile. "Doesn't he realize what an amazing girl is standing right next to him?" Sophie gave a sad shrug. "Obviously he doesn't, or he just doesn't feel the same. Maybe because I'm not like her." "Like who?" Jennifer asked, stroking her hair. "The girl he invited?" Sophie nodded. "Yeah, she's that super popular type, you know, a cheerleader. Looks like she stepped out of a commercial. Every guy turns his head for her, and me, I'm just Sophie, his good friend, his math homework buddy and video game partner, nobody special." Sophie's voice carried a mix of bitterness and self-pity. Jennifer recognized that tone. She had said similar words about herself years ago, in front of the mirror, crying over the boy who had never seen her that way. Michael shook his head in disapproval. "Hey, hold on. Don't talk about yourself like that, Sophie. You're more than just Sophie. You're smart, funny, kind. Chris would be lucky to have you as his girlfriend. If he doesn't see that, that's his problem, not yours." Sophie lowered her gaze into her cup of tea, where a few chamomile petals drifted slowly. "Easy for you to say, Michael," she sighed. "But that doesn't change the fact that it hurts. It hurts terribly. What's wrong with me?" At that question, her voice broke again, tears spilling down her cheeks. "There's nothing wrong with you, believe me," Jennifer said firmly, meeting her sister's blue eyes so sad now. "I know it feels like the world is collapsing, like you'll never be happy again without his love. But listen to me, you are wonderful exactly as you are. The fact that he doesn't feel the same doesn't diminish your worth in the slightest." Sophie bit her lip. trying to stop herself from crying. Then why can't he like me? Even a little. I really, really loved him, Jen. Or at least I thought I did. I made up so many scenarios in my head about us going to the school dance together that it would be like in the movies. I was so stupid. You weren't stupid. Michael cut in gently. You were in love, that's all. And when we're in love, we all start making movies in our heads. Believe me. It's not your fault for hoping. Jennifer nodded, agreeing with what Michael had said. You know what? When I was your age, I went through something similar too, she admitted, sighing at the memory. I thought that pain would never go away, but look, it did. Sophie looked up, curious. Really? I didn't know you. You're always so in control. Jennifer gave a sad smile. Believe me, even big sisters cry into their pillows over love sometimes, she said, attempting a smile. When I was 16, I was crazy about a boy. His name was Paul. I was convinced he was my soulmate, even though we barely spoke. I watched him from afar, dreamed up all kinds of things, and then one day I saw him holding hands with someone else. I felt invisible and, yes, my heart broke. What did you do? Sophie asked, astonished, maybe a little comforted to learn she wasn't the only one who'd been through something like that. I cried a lot, I admit. But a few months later, I realized I didn't think about him at all anymore. Life moved on, and my bruised little heart survived. Later I even met someone else, and I was happy. Sophie nodded slowly, taking in her sister's confession. Michael smiled warmly at Jennifer, gently taking her hand in his. Now, I'm not saying your story will be the same, Jennifer continued, and I don't want to minimize what you're feeling right now. I know it hurts terribly, Sophie. Tonight, nothing we say may fully soothe the pain, but I promise that one day the pain will lessen, and one day someone will like you exactly for who you are, without you having to change at all. Sophie sighed and took a sip of her tea. Have you two ever been in this situation? She asked suddenly, looking at Jennifer and Michael. I mean, I know you're happy now, but have you ever loved someone who didn't love you back? Jennifer and Michael paused, exchanging a meaningful look, as if saying with their eyes, who goes first? Michael decided to speak first. He brushed a stray lock of hair from his forehead and cleared his throat. Yes, Sophie, I've been through that too, he said quietly. In fact, he wondered for a moment if it was all right to be honest. Then, seeing the expectant look in Sophie's tearful eyes, he decided that honesty was the best thing he could offer right now. In fact, I loved someone who for a long time didn't love me back, he went on. Sophie's eyes widened in surprise. She might not have imagined that Michael, always so calm and self-assured, could have suffered in silence over love. Seriously, you? Who was it? Jennifer, still holding his hand, felt her heart begin to beat faster. She suspected what Michael was about to say. Though they were together now and happy, the memory of those months when he had been a devoted just a friend while she was pining over someone else stirred a bittersweet emotion in her. Michael smiled faintly, looking down at his hands. It was someone very close to me. A friend. My best friend, you could say. Do we know her? Sophie asked, slightly intrigued. Michael lifted his gaze to Jennifer and met her brown eyes, now shining with warmth. Yes, you know her, he answered slowly. It was Jennifer. Sophie stared, her mouth slightly open, glancing between the two of them. Jennifer? But you two are together. Jennifer smiled, her eyes misty, and rested her head on Michael's shoulder, seeking comfort for the lump that had already formed in her throat. "We are now, yes," Michael whispered. "But before Jennifer and I were together, we were friends. We'd known each other for a while, and I fell in love with her slowly, without her knowing." Sophie drank in every word, forgetting her own sadness for a moment. "You remember Jennifer was with David for a while? Well, after she and David broke up, Jennifer was very sad. And I was there as a friend, trying to make her smile again," Michael continued, his voice calm, as if he were telling a sad fairy tale. "Every day I watched her hurting over someone else, while I loved her, silently." Sophie brought a hand to her mouth. "Oh, that's so sad," she whispered. "Michael, I had no idea." "Of course you didn't," he sighed with a sad smile. "I got good at hiding my feelings. I was always by her side, bringing her favorite coffee, making her smile, listening when she was hurting, and inside all I wanted was to see her happy. I was afraid to tell her how I felt. I kept thinking that if I did, I might lose her as a friend." Jennifer listened in silence, letting Michael recount his memories. She felt overwhelmed, mentally reliving those evenings when Michael had held her hand as a friend while she cried over someone else. Only now did she understand why his gaze had been so gentle then, and at times a little sad. "And what happened in the end?" Sophie asked, impatient, looking at the two of them with wide eyes. This time Michael smiled broadly and gave Jennifer's hand a squeeze. "In the end, Jennifer realized on her own what I felt. And not only that. She realized what she felt for me too." Sophie smiled for the first time since she'd arrived, dabbing her nose with a fresh tissue. "Seriously? How did you know?" Jennifer laughed softly, recalling that magical moment. "It was a simple, even ordinary moment, but unforgettable for us," she said. "One day, Michael did a small, sweet thing. He brought me a scarf I'd left at the office and came all the way to the park just to give it to me. It was an autumn evening, the leaves were falling, and when he handed me the scarf, I saw him blush a little and look away, as if he'd said something without meaning to." Michael remembered that moment perfectly. He'd almost let slip an "I care about you more than you think" when he handed her the scarf. "In that instant I felt something," Jennifer continued, smiling at Michael. "Like a brief shiver. I asked myself, why is Michael acting like this? Could he feel?" Michael was smiling now, remembering Jennifer's surprised expression from that moment. And, long story short, the next day I looked at Michael with new eyes. I realized that the man who had stood by me unconditionally was, in fact, the one who had won my heart, slowly and surely, without my even noticing. Sophie looked delighted, as if she'd forgotten she'd been crying all evening. "Wow, so you got your happy ending, like in romantic movies." "Something like that," Michael joked. "But you should know, Sophie, that for many months I believed my love would remain forever unrequited. I had prepared myself emotionally for the possibility that Jennifer might never love me in the same way, and even if she hadn't felt the same, I would have accepted it, in the end. I would have known I'd done everything I could and that it wasn't anyone's fault." Jennifer nodded. "True, sometimes, no matter how much we want it, the person we love can't feel the same on command. Michael would have been heartbroken, but he would have moved on and probably found someone else who would love him the way he deserves." Sophie sighed, still moved by the story. "I'm so glad you two found each other," she said sincerely. "It gives me hope, in a way, although honestly, right now I feel like I'm never going to like anyone as much as I liked Chris." Jennifer gently stroked her hands again. "I know that's how you feel right now. And it's normal. Your first dream of love has shattered. But others will come, even if you don't believe it now. Your heart is wounded, but it's also strong. It will love again when it's ready." Michael stood up and disappeared into the kitchen for a few moments. When he returned, he was holding a colourful cardboard box. "I know it doesn't fix everything, but I brought some chocolate ice cream," he said with a warm smile. "It's therapeutic, guaranteed." Sophie let out a tearful laugh as she took the ice cream Michael handed her. Jennifer looked at him gratefully. She knew Sophie would probably cry again in the nights ahead, but for now Sophie was at least a little calmer. The three of them ate ice cream together, all squeezed onto the couch. Sophie in the middle, her head resting on Jennifer's shoulder, and Michael tapping a light, steady rhythm on her back to remind her she wasn't alone. The end credits of the now-forgotten movie were rolling on the TV, but no one cared. That night, sad as it was, Sophie felt a hint of comfort. Her pain hadn't gone away, but she understood she had people by her side who loved her, and that her story wasn't unique. "Thank you for being here for me," she whispered after a while, her gaze moving between her sister and Michael. "Always," Michael said, and Jennifer nodded. "Whenever your heart is heavy, you know where to find us." Toward midnight, Sophie dozed off, exhausted, her head in Jennifer's lap. Michael draped a light blanket over her. Jennifer cast her boyfriend a grateful look and slipped into his arms, whispering, "You're a good man, Michael, and a good friend to both of us." Michael smiled and kissed her lightly on the forehead. "I've been through it too. I know what it's like to need a shoulder to lean on," he said. Jennifer pulled him closer. "Every day I'm grateful that it was your shoulder and that in the end my heart realized what a treasure it had right beside it," she murmured, her voice full of emotion. Michael held her, and together they looked quietly over at Sophie, who was sleeping now, her breathing a little uneven but calm. In that quiet living room, three hearts were connected. One still wounded but surrounded by love, the other two, healed and united, radiating all the warmth a broken heart needs to mend. In the brief scene above, we watched how unrequited love leaves its mark on the soul, whether it's a teenager like Sophie or an adult like Michael. Sophie is facing her first heartbreak. She loves Chris, but he doesn't return her feelings and sees her only as a friend. We immediately see the classic effects. Overwhelming sadness, Sophie cries and feels it hurts terribly, the urge to blame herself, "What's wrong with me?" and a sense of inferiority compared to the other girl, "She's so popular, and I'm just Sophie." Exactly as we discussed in the theoretical section, Sophie had idealized her love, dreaming up prom scenes straight out of the movies, and now reality has hit her hard, shattering her dreams. Through the dialogue with Jennifer and Michael, the story also shows the importance of empathy and support. Jennifer, who also went through unrequited love in her youth, and even a painful breakup as an adult, helps her sister understand that she is not to blame for Chris's lack of feelings. Michael in turn shares his own experience of one-sided love. He had loved Jennifer in silence for a long time. Michael's story perfectly illustrates what the theory says. Friendships can sometimes become the fertile ground of unrequited love. Who hasn't had a best friend they were secretly in love with? We also saw both sides of this situation. Michael, the one who loved without being loved back, suffering in silence yet staying close. And Jennifer, who was initially on the other side, unaware of his feelings, then feeling confusion and fear when she started to sense something. Their final meeting, when love became mutual, is an optimistic note in the story, a fortunate case in which one-way love turned, over time, into shared love. Of course, not every case of unrequited love ends like Michael and Jennifer's, but the story underscores that, regardless of the outcome, those who suffer in love need understanding, patience and support. Surrounded by her sisters and her friends' affection, Sophie manages to get past the initial shock and to hope, at least a little, that one day she will be happy too. At the same time, Jennifer and Michael reminded her, and remind all of us, that loving someone who doesn't love you back doesn't mean you are unworthy of love. It simply means that chapter wasn't the right one, but it doesn't stop you from someday finding a chapter where love is mutual. Unrequited love is, without a doubt, a painful trial. It tests our self-confidence, shakes our dreams, and reveals the vulnerabilities of the heart. But, as we've seen, it is also an experience that can teach us valuable lessons. It teaches us to be empathetic, because after you've suffered yourself, you'll know how to offer your shoulder to someone going through the same thing. It teaches us to accept that we cannot force anyone to love us, and that in love, freedom and the authenticity of feelings are essential. And above all, it shows us the heart's resilience. Even when broken, the heart can mend and love again. If you, dear reader, find yourself now in the middle of the storm of unrequited love, remember that you are not alone and that your soul is stronger than you think. Yes, perhaps right now you see only closed doors and one-way streets. But the road of life has many unexpected crossroads. Love yourself enough to keep moving forward, step by step. Let time do its work. Each passing day takes a little of the pain away, even if that's hard to believe right now. Lean on the people who care about you. As we've seen, a warm cup of tea shared with someone who listens can soothe a lot. In the end, don't close the door to your heart just because someone didn't walk through it. Keep it ajar for the person who, at the right moment, will appear and see in you everything that deserves to be seen. True love has a curious way of finding us exactly when we're ready, sometimes after we've learned from a disappointment how to love ourselves and what we truly value. After all, to love someone with your whole heart, even without being loved in return, reveals the beauty of your soul. And that beautiful soul deserves in turn to be fully loved. So we close this chapter with a warm embrace for all who have loved someone in vain. Don't forget, every hard chapter of the heart prepares the ground for a future chapter, perhaps a happier one. Love has many forms and moments, and the fact that you're suffering today doesn't mean you won't find happiness tomorrow. Keep your hope alive, take care of your wounded heart, and keep going. At the end of the road, there surely awaits a heart ready to beat in the same rhythm as yours.